This is what we woke up to. No one for miles. It's just wet, gloomy, moody. This is Cornwall, the southernmost area in the United Kingdom. Home to epic adventures, deep history, and vast wilderness. My name is Luther Clayton, a young filmmaker and adventurer. I've been living in Cornwall for over 10 years. It's one of the best surfing spots in the UK. That is St Michael's Mount. I want to share with you its natural and historic wonders, the adventure at its doorstep, and the mysteries it withholds. Feel free to join me on my first diary entry. Previously on the Adventure Diaries, we visited the fishing town of Falmouth, learning about the history of the ocean and the people that lived off it. Experienced firsthand the sights of a recovering little village after major flooding. We even spoke to some locals and heard their account of the disaster.
Water mixed with mud, silt, sewage. I hope it never happens to anybody else.
We gained an insight into the history of the RNLI and visited the most southern point in the UK, where the biggest sea rescue ever took place. And we braved torrential rain with stormy winds to experience more of the south of Cornwall. Back in the car now, leaving Penzance. On our way here, we saw quite a few seabirds just waking up, having their breakfast. We saw what I think is a wader with their long beak, pecking around in the rock pools trying to find some food, as well as seagulls and pigeons and all that. But it's been really pretty here in Penzance. Last night the clouds cleared up and we had a good sunset. And we still got some blue sky, but still cloud coverage around. I've developed a really croaky cough and voice, so we'll see how that goes with the last 2 days of the trip. But we're now off on our way to the next fishing village. We're going to be going to a few fishing villages today, not too far from Penzance. The first fishing village will be Newland, which is one of the largest fishing villages in Cornwall. So we'll be having a look at that, and we'll walk around there. And then we'll go to Mousel, which I've been to before. It's a wonderful little village, awesome, and I'm really excited to show you. And whatever happens after that is all an adventure.
Everybody, it's the 3rd of August and I'm here in Newland Harbor in Cornwall, and across the road from me here is a little shop that is a well-known secret in Cornwall, and it's Gelbert's. They sell the best ice cream you can get in Cornwall and probably in the whole of the UK. Unfortunately, because we're here early this morning, the shop is shut, and they're open till 7 o'clock at night, and they open about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And usually there's a long queue that goes all the way along the pavement for people queuing up, because once so the tourists find out that it's the best ice cream, everybody wants some. But once the tub is empty, that's it for the day. Anyway, I just thought I'd point out Gelbert's in Newland. If you're ever down in Cornwall and down this way near Penzance, make a visit. You won't be disappointed.
Behind me here is the Newland fishing port. Now it's a very famous fishing port. It has over 50 fishing boats in this port, so it is one of the largest ports in Cornwall. All the boats are in the harbour right now as the fish have been brought in to the village, and really the spirit of the village is all revolved around fishing. Now every single shop you go by, every lane, there is a fishing shop there, or there is a fishmonger there, and everything here revolves around fishing. This village is always working. Everyone here, all the locals, all the fishermen are always on it. They are out there fixing their boats, going fishing, getting up their shops ready, and it is incredible to see the hustle and the bustle of this little village here, as it is a very big port, one of the biggest in Cornwall. But I'm going to take you to a different harbour, a different village that is more secluded and less hustle and bustle. Now on our way to this really nice and calm village, we decided to walk it, and we've come across this beautiful garden in memory of a disaster that happened in the 1900s. Now right in front of me, in front of the garden, is a lifeboat launch, and that was used for the RNLI lifeboats to save ships in stormy seas. This really does look like a paradise. We are here in Mousehole, and it's just a walk away from Newland, where we were previously. Now you can even see St Michael's Mount from here, Penzance. It is a beautiful day today, absolutely wonderful. But from first impressions being here in Mousehole, I haven't been for a very long time, but I can already notice how Mousehole is just so connected with the nature around it. They use the ocean, the coast to their advantage. They fish. Walking through Mousehole and to Mousehole, you could just see all the plants, all the growth, and it feels rather wild. And they obviously use the ocean to fish. They are just a really nature-focused little village, and I really like that.
We wandered into Mousehole, a first for my mum, a second for me. Mousehole is different from any other village in Cornwall. Its aura, its vibe, the buildings, the people. The place is just so unique. Tight little lanes, small alleyways, vibrantly painted houses. I said there is less hustle and bustle, and that is true, but there is always someone doing something. Not necessarily working, but just living, relaxing on the beach, painting the house, planting the seeds. It's a place for rejuvenation, a time to connect with the ocean, a time to connect with yourself.
Sense that's so different from the others. It's almost like we're in a different country. Okay.
And then they were like what we would call Marines these days.
Yeah.
They had a regiment on board the ships, and they landed them just on the bottom here, and they raided the village and set fire to it. And in those days, all the houses were cottages, wood frame cottages,
So
wattle and daub. They had thatched roofs, but this house was granite and slate roof.
So that's why it's
Yes, it was built by the big merchant who ran the village and ran the harbour. And his name was Jenkins Kegwin.
So we're in a traditional pub inn, enjoying a glass of lemonade.
My previous visit to this village was much the same. You leave with a sense almost like you've just left a different country. To me, the village feels like a little Italy.
My thoughts on Mousel are that it is just an incredible little village. It almost felt like we were in a small Italian village out somewhere outside the UK, and I really enjoyed it. I've been there once before, but that was at night time, seeing the harbour lights, which are spectacular when they're up. But really, overall, a brilliant experience.
Mousel is a place that you could spend a whole day in and not leave. But our time to go was due, so we embarked down the sea wall, hoping we would find an exit. We never did.
If you climb up through here, I assume. I'll have a look. Nope.
Backtracking ourselves for half a kilometre, we found an exit off the coastline and onto a road. From there, we caught with our car and were back on the road to the next destination.
Way to Coo Beach, but the red flag is flying, so that means that we cannot go in the ocean, we cannot go swimming, but it is a beautiful place. A lot of tourists, a lot of people here, but the sand is beautiful white. The sea, the ocean is just stunning, crazy, really rich, but crystal clear blue of the ocean, and it's really beautiful to see, really picturesque. But we're going to make our way up to, wait, what is it called? The, Minack. We're going to make our way to the Minack Theatre, which is a theatre that has been sort of carved out of the cliff. And it should be a great spectacle to see and a good experience. But it is a shame that we can't go swimming. It's crazy, crazy waters. have now left Porthcurno. We hiked the cliffside, trying to get to the Minack Theatre, but they're using it right now, so you cannot see it and you cannot go into it. So we are hiking, well, we're walking back down the road that you can take to get to the Minack Theatre. Just let these cars go by. And we're going to grab a spot for lunch, because really, although it is absolutely beautiful with the huge waves and the pristine waters with no pollution, which is awesome, there's just not much adventure there, as you can't go swimming and whatnot. So we're going to hike back, grab a spot to eat, and then carry on with our adventure.
It was nearing the end of the day. Another storm was rolling in, and the campsite was at least an hour away. Despite this, my mum and I still had one small trip that was labelled compulsory on the to-do list. We had to make it happen.
We've come to Jeeva Tin Mine, which is an old tin mine that was used many, many years ago. We're having a tour of the facilities around here. Then, after looking about, which has so far been really interesting, we're going to be going underground in an old tin mine. Right now I'm in the locker rooms with some of the miners. You can see them. There are some of their faces. Over 100 miners did die from accidents in this very tin mine. But it is just crazy to see the history. Have you clocked out? A little reminder for them. Look at all these people. All miners. The Cornish flag is a black solid colour with a white cross, and the white actually stands for the tin in our Cornish land. And tin was a very big profit to Cornwall, and it was mined quite vigorously around because it obviously gave economic development. No longer mined actively here, but really interesting to see the story.
The history of mining in Cornwall is really impressive. The stories of these miners tell another level of bravery, something that I would love to learn more about. But what really caught my interest were the bright and colourful rocks and minerals the miners have found on their journeys into the darkness. Despite their complex beauty, rocks and crystals like these were not the product they were looking for, but nowadays it is valuable to scientists looking to learn more about the geology of these areas of coastline. After being inspired by some of the exhibits and old, disused areas of the mining village, my mum and I decided we'd join in on the last mineshaft tour of the day, something neither of us had experienced ourselves before. A few minutes of panning, then we were suited up, and in we went.
This is just incredible.
You need to turn sideways and go through sideways so it gets wide enough to turn forwards. And then you'll have a couple of steps up and you'll use the headroom again. And at the far end is another guide and you'll be able to stand up when you reach him.
You won't have to bend anymore. You can walk us through. Still tight, but no more bending.
Hello there.
Hiya, you okay?
Yeah, very good, thanks.
Oh, it's so bright. So bright. It's just mind-blowing. Crazy.
That was amazing. Crazy! Underground mine.
I wouldn't want to work in a mine.
No, that must have been really difficult work.
However, one of the guides did tell us that most of the men, if not all of them, did enjoy working there, so I think it would be fun for a few weeks.
Half a day.
Half a day.
It closed in 86, I think. That was cool.
Crazy. The mine we went through was found recently, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And was shut in around probably 1990. Nope, before then, 1950, he said. Mid-90s. They found it. It was covered by all the gravel and the waste of the mine, and they found it, which is crazy. And we got to go through it. As you can see, folks, we made it to our campsite. We're gonna brew some tea, cook up some food, and I think relax for the evening. Maybe if we can find a good place to watch the sunset, we can do that. But really, it's been a pretty hectic sort of past few days with a lot of visiting areas and almost making ourselves as tourists to the county that we live in. Yeah, I think we just need to relax a bit and get in the tent and have a cup of tea. Tea's brewing. There's a little wasp next to it also. But a nice wild edible to have as a snack at the campsite. That's the perfect flavour. Really good. Make a few of these. Tea.
Well, they do use lots of place names in the folder. Lanchero, isn't that yourself?
Walking up this really stunning little walkway next to our campsite as the sun is setting behind us, and I was lucky enough to stumble upon this. Down here I saw a little bit of coal fungus. Now, if you're a long-term viewer, if you've been watching my YouTube videos that I make, you'll know that I guess I have an obsession of this little fungus here. as it is a brilliant fire starter. You can get your flint striker, crack it open, strike into the fungus, and it will create a little ember. It is brilliant to then put in some dry grass or whatever you have, blow on it a bit, and you start a fire. Now, I have no use for it today, as we are not allowed fires on the campsites here in the UK in Cornwall. So I'm just going to leave it here. Also, it is very damp. It's been down on the ground for a long time, and it's been crushed, so it is quite damp and wouldn't work very well. But it is great to see that the coal fungus is growing here. Now, if you yourself want to find some coal fungus, if you ever want to find a natural fire starter, I'm going to give you a few tips. Now, this was just found on the ground, as they do fall off the trees, mainly because birds will be climbing on the trees and knock it off. But they are usually found on dead standing trees. Now, this tree where I found the fungus, it isn't necessarily completely dead, it's thriving, but as you can see, it's had trunks, some limbs cut off, and for a long way there are no branches. That indicates that branches have been cut off, limbs have been cut off, and probably because they're rotting, they're dead. And in fact, right here we have, didn't even see this, a huge dead limb that's snapped off. So obviously these trees are quite old, and the coal fungus really prefers dead standing trees. So not necessarily standing, but some rotten wood that is not wet. And if it's dry, rotten wood, it will grow on there. And so if you're looking out for it, mainly big, tall trees, oak, ash. Ash is a very good one. And yeah, it is a really great fungus to find, and I definitely recommend you go out hunting for it. It's my favourite one. We're now walking through Tahiti Country Park. It is the trail that we went on last night just for a few minutes, just at sunset. But we're now going to spend the morning walking through this country park. It is really beautiful. We're right now walking through a few pine trees and fir trees. Got all the fir cones on there, so it looks really cool. And at the end of this trail, which is 3 miles, we'll arrive at Portreath, which is a little coastal village. And we're just going to see what we can find and have a relaxing walk.
You know, just the first strides through Tahiti Park felt very refreshing. My mum and I have surrounded ourselves with nature throughout this trip, but there was always something there that has just separated us from the true natural experience. Tahiti was a haven. The birds, squirrels, rabbits, and fish. It all gave me a truly relaxing experience, and walking step by step, my mind drifted into a meditative state, a state of natural bliss.
plant right here is Buddleia, and the butterflies absolutely love it. They're extracting all the pollen from almost every single blossom. There's definitely over 10 butterflies here. It's crazy. So what was a simple walk of 3 miles to Portreath turned into such a complicated little hike. We went through, there's a thrush. That's a thrush. We went, found ourselves in some civilized town, village place. Then we started walking through a resort full of donkeys, reindeer and chickens. And now we've just found ourselves back in a forest, with a little stream. And a beautiful little bridge down here. It's turned into an epic adventure. It's brilliant.
It was only a few more minutes until we reached Portreath.
We made it. Portreath. Finally.
And I must say, Portreath is the brightest, most vibrant village I've ever been to, both literally and metaphorically. Literally in the sense that houses are brightly coloured, the sand on the beach is white.
They're some of the best toilets, public toilets, I've seen in my whole entire life.
But metaphorically in the sense that everyone was so welcoming. The energy, the atmosphere, it was just contagious. My mum and I were in need of an energy boost, and this village provided it. We grabbed some treats to help with that, and made our way to the coast. Portreath became our place for relaxation, a place to enjoy the sun while it lasted. I absorbed as much of the energy I could, but soon enough I needed to properly wake myself up. My method? Jump in the cold, cold ocean.
The ocean looks really, really cold. Beautiful, but cold.
No matter how much I loved Portreath and the ocean, we had to leave. We left Portreath via a B road. Braving the traffic and the hot sun, we eventually reached the footpath after half an hour, and we're back on track with a path in the forest.
rhododendron. Wow! I'm in a rhododendron bush. It's so cool in here.
And that's it, for now I guess. It is time to go home, but I'll be back in a few days as we road trip up north just outside of Cornwall. Well, that's the plan anyway. I love this trip with my mum. It's been a wondrous experience. But we've decided my dad will join me on the next part. Alright, that's all I have to say for now. I'll see you then.